questions, if you picking up what I'm putting down, or if something doesn't make sense, feel free to ask because your question might help someone else, and it helps me gauge if you're absorbing the information or if there's any gaps, and we can just talk through things together. I don't really like to lecture. I do kind of lecture in the beginning, but it's just like because we're new here. Like, does she even go here? But going forward, it's conversational. Um, so feel free to chime in, and if you don't want to chime in, throw something in the chat, and I got my chat pulled up and I'll see it. So let's go. So tonight is our first session, and it's the introduction. Oh, and I'm not recording. Ain't nobody saying nothing. So also your recordings will go in your dashboard as well. So in between now and next session, if you want to access these recordings, if you want to hop on a VM to practice in a real environment, just send me an email, and as long as I'm not teaching a session, it's yours. Also your weekly coding challenges, you'll get those as well. But we'll talk about that in the end. Um, so let's go. So tonight is our first session, and it's the introduction. Um, I like to look at it like it's literally like the floor. And everything you learn from here on out will build upon here. So it's important that you grasp the concepts, and if you don't understand the concepts, ask about it, put some time on my calendar, just, talk through it to make sure you understand. Because literally, the way we're going to be doing our sessions from here on out is we're going to learn and then you apply. And then the next session, we'll kind of reiterate a little bit, but I'm going to stretch you out a little bit more. And each session is going to kind of build and grow upon that one. So in the event that there's something that you're not quite understanding, or hey, can you run that back? Please ask and we can just talk through it. So, with that being said, tonight is our introduction session, and the objectives of tonight are to introduce you to what databases are, introduce you to what SQL is, um, talk to you about the data types, the data dependencies, data relationships. We get into our DML languages, which is a data manipulation language. And you're also going to have the opportunity to write your own code tonight, to apply those concepts and to code those concepts. So if you have not connected to your VM, go ahead and connect to your VM like while I'm doing this. And if you have any questions, feel free to chime in and we'll talk through it. Just confirming that it's being recorded, correct? It is being recorded. So when we hop off tonight, when the session ends, you're gonna get an email say, hey, you have a recording in the dashboard. You can go and revisit it to make sure you can understand what we're talking about. All right. Mine keeps saying that my credentials did not work when I try to log in with my password. Make sure you don't have like any spaces or anything like that, and um make sure you are it is what it says in it. Like, make sure it's actually doing it. Also, if you're using a laptop or a machine that you use for something else, make sure that their username is the proper username and not the computer. And let me know. And any other questions? Okay. So let's go then. Let's go. So, introduction to databases. This is 101. What is a database? A database is anything that you use to electronically store data, where you can retrieve data, edit data. And a lot of times when people think of databases, they automatically assume the database that we're using, which it is a database, but at its highest level, we use them all the time. Even when you go like to your phone, you store your pictures, you store your text messages. All of that is stored to be easily accessible, editable, and you're able to retrieve it. So at its core, that is a database. Um, Anything that you use to store data. So why are databases important? So databases hold a lot of different roles, and they have a lot of importance, especially when you get into organizations. One major benefit of why databases are important is when we get into that data analysis and reporting. A lot of y'all, a lot of people that are transitioning to data, they oftentimes, you go on LinkedIn, you look at all the tools, you're like, okay, well, I see a lot of Tableau, I see a lot of Power BI, I see a lot of dashboards. Dashboards, the back end of those dashboards is a database somewhere, whether it is a proprietary database or whether it is SQL. I've actually had people come and take my sessions, and one student in particular he had been building dashboards for like 5 years. So he's been in marketing. He was in marketing, he had been building dashboards for 5 years, and he was actually on the front end. He had no idea that the source was actually SQL. So he took my course and he's like, okay, I wanted to learn the back end. So he was able to like marry the knowledge that he already had with those databases and learn the back end of it, which leveraged him into another position. But I said all that to say, if you are in your day-to-day role, if you're a consumer of those dashboards, meaning you're someone that uses them, or if you're someone that is puts in like requests for dashboards, I need to be able to do this, that, and the third, the back end of those dashboards is a database somewhere, and it's a high probability that it is probably SQL. So databases help support data analysis and reporting. So by the time it gets to that database, I mean that report, it's clean, it's easy to consume. However, on the back end, it's clearly not like that, and that's what y'all gonna be learning today. Another benefit of those databases is data organization and management. So one primary benefit also of databases is ideally supposed to keep your data organized. Your data should be organized, your data should be structured, it should be quality data, and it should be in a way that if someone, whether it is an analytic professional or someone that is responsible for making business decisions, if they need access to their data, they're able to get it. So that's one benefit. Another benefit of those databases is they allow for that data sharing and collaboration. So, Exhibit A, like tonight, everybody has their own database. Everybody has their own server. Everybody has their own tool to analyze their data and to go through their data. When you get your role, an organization, when you get your role, can y'all hear that lawnmower? I can't do nothing about it, but I don't know if, okay, cool. But when you get your role and you land a role, it is not, well, I'm not gonna say it's not uncommon because that is the norm, but the norm is that organizations have access to different databases, but everyone that's in their field or everyone that has those particular permissions has access to that data, meaning everyone can retrieve that data, they can pull that data, they can analyze that data. um, let's say that we're on a team together. I can send you my code. You can pull your own data. It allows and supports like that data sharing and collaboration. I know I touched base on it. I want to say during our touch base when I was telling y'all how, might not have been a touch base, but I oftentimes talk about how the way my team is structured is globally. Like when we go through our daily stand-ups, we go like east to west. And it's like, okay, who's on the east side of the world, who's on the west side, and then we go all the way over because we're stationed everywhere. Like I've worked with people in Mexico, Ukraine, like we're literally everywhere, but we all get together every day and dump like what we're working on, what the roadblocks are, and we're all using pretty much the same tools. So that those databases allow for us to globally exchange data, across the world. Is another benefit of those. Any questions? Okay. So let's get into the types of databases. So there are several types of databases. And the primary difference between what makes databases different is two things. It's how they process that data and it's how it stores the data. That's what makes databases different. So what we're learning on for the remainder of the course is we're learning on a relational database. We're learning on Microsoft's relational database tool. Um, what the characteristics of that is, and the reason that I'm doing it and use it is because I actually used it even now to this day. And I've used it in like 80% of my career, literally to this day. So a lot of organizations naturally lean into Microsoft tools. It's no different than how they might have Word or Excel or whatever. It's the Microsoft tech stack. So a lot of organizations lean into it. And I'm gonna write it in the chat. The dialect that we're using is T SQL. The features of that is it stores the data in actual tables on-prem. What is on-prem? On-prem means that it's literally taking up storage on that computer, on that device. That's exactly why I gave y'all VMs, which is a virtual machine, which is your own computer, because I didn't feel like if I was somebody that was consuming these type of courses or lessons, I would not want to deal with like having to download anything, which is why I'm like, okay, let me set it up to where you don't have to download anything. But it actually stores it on prem. So all your data is actually stored on your machine. It takes up memory on that machine. That is the core of what a relational database is. Now, you get into cloud databases. There has been a lot of talk about data centers. Every time you turn on, actually since the beginning of this year, there has been a lot of chatter around investing money in data centers, setting up to where they're building new data centers. They're putting this infrastructure. They're putting all these billions and billions of dollars into infrastructure. That is when you get into your cloud databases. That's when you get into your Amazon Redshift, your Google GCP, Google Cloud. Those are cloud databases. They literally store your data in the cloud. They store your data in the cloud. That is a cloud database. Then you get into your NewSQL databases, which is like the ones that you use online. High transactional systems, a lot of banks use them, financial institutions. That's when you get into that type of system. Now, what is the difference between all of these? The only difference between these is the way that they process the data and the way that they store the data. So a lot of people ask me and they're like, well, am I able to use this in a cloud environment? Am I able to do this? And I'm like, absolutely. Because what you're learning is SQL. SQL is the primary language of data. So you're able to take the skills that you learned today and you're able to apply them in multiple environments. Now, throughout my career, I've written code in Amazon, which Redshift. I've written code in Oracle, Microsoft, Google GCP, DBeaver. I've written in them a lot of different ones. And there might be slight variations with how certain clients, with how you have to write your code in certain clients. However, if you know SQL, you know SQL. Because when I say slight variations, I'm not talking about anything like major. I'm talking about like you might have to put a semicolon at the end of your code, or in some client, it might be case sensitive, or something like that. It's nothing ever too crazy. So what you're learning, you're able to apply it within multiple dialects. And each client might have a different quote unquote dialect of SQL. It's no different than like I'm a southerner. I literally sound like I'm from the South. I can't hide that. But I'm having a conversation with someone that might be from California or New York or somewhere else. We're all talking the same language, but we just sound just a little bit different. SQL is the same way. And it's no different than how you have like Excel and and Google Sheets. Like if I know Excel, I know how to navigate Google Sheets. SQL is the same way. So that's when you get into the different dialects. So you're able to apply it in all of those environments because the language you're learning, it just might shift up just a little bit, but if you know, you know. And what I posted in the chat, T-SQL. T-SQL is actually what we're learning, the dialect that we're learning for our session tonight. And I did that because if you've been on LinkedIn or you've seen my portfolio, you see where I have like multiple dialects of SQL on there. And that's attributed to the fact of it's just different dialects. But SQL is SQL. Any questions on that? Okay.
Do you see cloud databases are becoming, or do you see cloud databases are going to be the most dominant
I
moving forward?
I see it. So I see us migrating towards there, and the reason being is because I'm actually on and it's the thing. Everybody keep talking about what they finna do, talking about it, and it takes a lot of work to get there. But I've seen where a lot of companies are like quote unquote migrating to cloud, so they migrating their data like off prem to the cloud. So I do think eventually that we'll get there. Um, I do think that eventually we will get there, just like with anything though. Yep. And what I would urge like y'all to do is partially what you're doing, this type of stuff you're doing today. Like start learning, like this is the time to be learning like this type of stuff. Because even as we migrate into the cloud, we still have it's still gonna when you retrieve the data, you're still gonna do it with this language. Like even with Snowflake and all the other stuff, they still using SQL. So yep. Good question. Good question. Any other questions? And another benefit of that, another way that these companies getting sold on on that cloud infrastructure as well, is the fact that they literally only pay for what they use. So they're being sold, and which it is not a bad thing because they're being sold like back in the day, they used to have these server rooms, and now it's like ain't no server room. You know, you if you need this storage, I can get this storage. If I don't need this storage, I'm gonna scale it back. So yeah, they are. So any other questions? Okay. So introduction to SQL. So what is SQL? So it is not uncommon for y'all to hear as you navigate the state space. Some people say SQL, some people say SQL. It don't matter. It literally doesn't matter. Say either one of them. But SQL is the programming language for data. It's to retrieve data from your database. Um, it's the programming language that is designed for querying data, updating data, maintaining data. When you look and everything I do, I talk in numbers. I'm sorry, but everything I do goes back to data. I guess to like what I do. But when you look at the data, SQL is it's been the top three tech skill consistently, like in a double digit years. And the reason being is because regardless of what industry you're in, what your title is, if you're in tech, you probably use SQL in some way, shape, or form. Meaning you're a software developer, cybersecurity, everybody uses SQL because of its proximity to the data. So it's a very valuable skill. It's the top three programming language in IT all the way around. And in analytics, it is number one. And the reason why it is number one is because when you look at the required skills for fields within analytics, SQL is a non-negotiable. Like it's like you gotta know this. You might can get away without knowing how to do Power BI or Tableau or Python or anything else, but you literally have to know SQL. Um, so it's the top analytics skill, period. Within my experience, I've been in data for 12 years. I've literally used SQL all 12 of those years consistently. There might have been times to where I literally only built a dashboard for the first time like 2 or 3 years ago. There might be a time to where you might have to do a little Python script here or there. You might. SQL and Excel has been like my bread and butter. Um, and I say that to say what I've seen is like a lot of people that are interested in transitioning, they come in and they have like this wide net. Like they try to learn all the things. And it's like I kind of like be like, hold up. Let's focus on like one, maybe two, because when you learn, like for example with SQL, when you learn SQL and when you grasp a very good foundational understanding of your data relationships, your data dependencies, how to format your code, all those things, which I teach you, those other things are going to come more organic to you. Like you're going to be able to look at a Python script and you might not be able to write it, but you kind of, your brain will kind of start working and like, okay, I got a vibe on what this is trying to do or say. Even when you get into SQL and when you get into something like Power BI, you're going to be able to look at it and kind of organically be able to figure it out because once you start writing code in here, your brain just starts like working differently. Even when you go into like I challenge y'all, like even when you go into work tomorrow or when you go and start doing things, whether it's on LinkedIn or whether it's anywhere, start looking for ways to leverage data. Like literally be like, you know what, I can do this in Excel or I can do this in whatever. Start literally looking for ways that you and things that you do right now where you can start leveraging data and start quantifying things. Um, what that looks like is I have a student that was an RN, and she's like, okay, she's been an RN for like 8 to 10 years. She's been an RN for a while, and she like, okay, I'm transitioning from RN to analytics. Cool, because data's everywhere. So she took this, and so she goes back to work, and she's like, you know what? She was like, we're implementing a new call center, so I'm analyzing the data and things from that call center. I'm like, that's what you need to do. I got another student that was literally a therapist, 3 degrees, every last one of them. Therapy, psychology, counseling. Like she probably finna get another one. She should be racking them up. I'm like, I don't even know, like just racking them up. So she like, okay, so she goes to work and she's like, we have to maintain like certain KPIs and things. So she started analyzing her data that she was doing like with her clients to like meet those certain KPIs. So I said all that to say start looking for ways like that you are all things that you're already doing now that you can analyze and quantify because it helps take things and makes it from like abstract to like real. Like, okay, this real now. This is like data that I'm looking at every day, you know. So anyway, so SQL, that's what SQL is. And I went on a tangent like saying, once you learn it, it changes the way your brain works and you're able to like literally apply that mindset to like every part of your life. Um, so the primary benefits of SQL is to data query. Um, SQL allows for you to use commands like select, insert, update, delete. These are actually what we're gonna do tonight. They also allow you to manipulate data and it also keeps your data very defined. Um, maintaining like those structures of the databases and things like that. Keeping those data relationships, things like that, which I'm going to talk to y'all about tonight as well. Do we have any questions about SQL? Okay. And feel free to stop me when I'm talking, y'all. Okay. So, retrieving data. So we talked about how one of the benefits of a database is to be able to retrieve that data, basically get that data. That's one of the benefits of a database is to be able to retrieve data when you need it, period. That's it. That's all. So in retrieving data, it is important that you understand the data types that are housed within those certain tables. What is a table? What is data types? So a table is how your data is actually stored within SQL. Everything you do, not something, everything you do, every dot thing you do in SQL is gonna go back to a table. Every table has a definition. Every table is defined clearly. With those definitions, it helps you to understand your data relationships. So let's get into these data types. Now, what you're looking at right here on this left side of the screen, this is a block of code. A block of code is called a syntax. So if I tell you to execute your syntax, if I tell you to what is your syntax doing, what is your code doing, this is what I'm talking about. I also want you to start challenging yourself with using the verbiage. And the reason that I say that is because you're not here for your health. You're here to get a role. You're trying to get the money. In order to get the money, you got to get past these tech assessments. You got to get past the interviews. Ideally, when you go through a tech assessment and when you go to an interview, it's less about what's right and what's wrong. It's more or less about your thought process, your problem solving. How do you think through things? How do you identify things? So with you transitioning into this space, I want you to start, how can I say this? I want you to start seeing yourself as what you're trying to get into. If you are trying to transition into analytics and you're coming from an unrelated field, your brain, your body, your ears, your hands are not used to writing code. Nothing is used to operating like that. So I want you to start kind of setting yourself to like start using a verbiage. Hear yourself saying, execute my syntax, retrieving data from the table. Hear yourself doing those things because the more you do that, the more organic it becomes to you. It doesn't feel foreign to you. And when things no longer feel foreign to you, it just it's easier for everybody. So I like to challenge y'all to okay, use the verbiage. When you're talking through your code and I ask you, so what is your syntax doing? Be able to explain it. Be able to talk through that. Be able to identify certain things because on the back end, it's gonna help you. Because first of all, if you can explain it and talk through it, you know what you're talking about. Second of all, if you know what you're talking about, it's easy to communicate those in a way to show, okay, this is my code, this is what it's doing. You literally know. So that's why I kind of challenge y'all. Okay, let's use the verbiage. Let's use the language to make sure that, like, if there are any gaps, I can identify them and I can get you together. So once you are comfortable interviewing, you already have been down that road. That's not your first time doing it. So this is a syntax. Now you see these. Um, what color is this blue? You see these blue words here. These are called reserved words. When you write your code, your your syntax is like will be like multiple colors. They turn multiple colors, then the system has an expectation that they're gonna do something. Period. Like if it changes blue, if it changes pink, if it changes any other color, it has the expectation that it's gonna do something. Just looking at this syntax at a high level, what do you think it's doing?
It's creative intimidation.
Huh? I think Sade and Amanda, y'all both saying something. What you
It
say?
created the table.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's creating the table. It's creating the table. And as a matter of fact, your coding challenge, you'll do this as well. It's creating a table and it's giving you the table name here. This is your table name. It's giving you your columns that are in that table. Customer ID, first name, last name, birthday. It's giving you all of this. Not only is it giving you that, but it's also defining those columns. So we got customer ID, integer, first name, var card, last name, var card, birthday, date. So it's creating a table, it's creating the columns, and it's defining that table as well. Now let's get into these data types. So it you do not have to memorize data types. Like I've seen people where they try to like, okay, well I have to know. You don't have to memorize data types. The objective in a matter as a matter of fact, I don't I don't suggest you memorize anything. I suggest that you identify, apply, and learn how to work through things. Um, so I said all that to say this is integer. And it's essentially like what it says it means. It's a number. It's a whole number. So I'm essentially saying that this column, the only data that can fit in this column is an integer. When you think about how, let's say we have like a, let's say we have like a, let's say we have like a bottle of a bottle, and on our bottle we label like this bottle to be honey. I label this bottle honey. This is a plain bottle that I keep in my kitchen. I got honey on it. I wouldn't put ketchup in that bottle. I will only put honey in that bottle. Why? Because that bottle has been labeled to only hold honey. So I'm not going to put ketchup in there. When your tables are defined, the same concept is applied. When your tables are defined, I'm defining it as an integer. Only integer data can go within that table, period. If I try to insert any other data type within that table, it's going to fail. You're going to get a bug. Or if I try to retrieve data from that table and treat that data that's in that column like anything other than an integer, it is not going to work. Your code not going to work. So when your tables are defined, they're defined with the expectation of only this can go right here. So treat this column like this column only holds integers. So you're gonna have to treat it like an integer. This column only holds varchar or only holds this type of data. So you have to treat it like that. You can't treat it like anything outside of that. So that is when your tables are defined. When you're doing your data investigation, you have to go and look and say, okay, well, this data type is integer, this data type is varchar, this data type is whatever, and you have to treat it as such. You can't treat it like anything. So it's important. And what I hone in on y'all as well is doing your own data investigation. Because when you're doing your data investigation, you go and look at your own data, and you like, oh, okay, well that's an integer. Okay, well that's a date time. Okay, and you have to write your code accordingly to whatever that data type is. So these are your data types. You got your numeric, which are numbers, like exactly what it sounds like. You have your string data type. A lot of your data is actually strings, and a lot of the data primarily is strings. And the reason being is because varchar basically means variable length of a string. That means that the data that is within this column can be a variable length, but it can't be any more than 50. And when I say a string, I literally mean like a string of data. You know how you have like a Pandora bracelet and you put all your pendants on there, like you string all your pendants on there. You can string as many as you want on there, you can take as many as you want off. Your varchar is literally, it works the same way. It's a string of data. Date time is exactly what it says it is. It's a date or time. And you have to treat it as such. And we'll talk about that when you actually get within a database as well. So
For the bar card,
mhm,
it always have a number at the end, like a max number.
yep.
Okay.
When you have your varchar, when you define it, you're gonna say varchar and then you put the max. That's exactly what it is too. It can't be any more than 50 bytes. You have your max in parentheses. But yep, it's gonna be structured just like that every time.
So it's like a character link.
Yes. That's what it is. Yep. Yep. And it can be basically anything from zero to it just can't be bigger than this. So for it can have like my name and your name in another column and Sade name. Like it can have like it can be variable lengths of data. But yep. Any other questions? Let's go then. Let's go then. All right. So let's get into our basic SQL syntax. And I don't even know why I call it basic SQL syntax because I mean, it's not really basic because everything falls on it. It's kind of important. Maybe I could change it. But anyway, so basic SQL syntax. Um, so this is the way your SQL code has to be structured. Not some of the time, literally all the time. Because if it's not like this, it's going to fail. It's not going to work. It's just not. And then you got to figure out why. Um, so tonight, our primary objectives are introduction to databases, introduction to SQL, DML languages, which is these right here, and filters, which is this. So the if you're doing something, if you're in SQL, you're doing one of four of these things. In SQL, there are it's what you call DML languages, data manipulation language. Let me type it in the chat for you. What if I can get to my keyboard? Okay. So when you get into SQL, you get into what is called DML languages, data manipulation language. That essentially means that those are the four concepts of being able to navigate through SQL. So tonight, when I say DML languages, I am encapsulating one of four of these things. It talks about all four of these. So when you get your first role, when you get your role, 99.9% of your coding is going to be select. You will hardly ever insert, update, or delete. However, I do think it is very important for you all to know how to apply these and to understand the importance of them because when DML languages are referred, this is what they're all referred to. It encapsulates all of this. So let's get into select. Select does exactly what it says it does. It selects. Here is our syntax. Select. We have our star here. This star is essentially the wild. It's a wild card, is what it's called. This star means I want all the data, all the columns. I want all the data, and I want all the columns. Now, it is not best practice to use a star. And the reason being is because if your table has 3 million records and 60 columns, you really don't need all that data. And I retrieve all that data, and now the database all locked up because like you take it out of memory. And now we got to have a best practice meeting or something, which is what we just had like a month ago with the data analyst. So best practice is to list out your columns. So select whatever you list after select is what is going to show up in your output from your table. This is the table. Now, the way that like my brain like makes this okay is because let's say you go to the grocery store and you have like a basket. Your basket is your output. And you go over to the produce, and I'm gonna get this, I'm gonna get this, I'm gonna get my bananas, I'm gonna get my peppers, I'm gonna get this. I'm getting selecting this, I'm selecting this, and I'm selecting this. I'm selecting those from a table. It's the same concept. I am selecting my columns from a table. So when you write select, I'm listing out the columns that I want from my table. Anything you do within SQL, like we talked about earlier, any and everything goes back to a table. You ain't doing nothing without a table. A table's involved somewhere because that's where you get your data from. So we are selecting all of our columns from our table. Now, before we get into insert, update, or delete, let's actually go within our database, and I am going to get you all to do your first use case. Let me go to mine. Mine ain't even up. So go ahead and go to your VM, pull it on your other screen or whatever you got to do, and um we're gonna go through our database and our architecture. So okay, it should look like this. Go to connect, and it should just look just like this, and you can just click connect.
It's the SQL Server Management that we're clicking.
Yep, it's the little yellow box like this. And it should pull up. And if it asks you to recover some files, you got to click. I'm just playing. Let me stop playing so much. If it asks you to recover the file, say no because I'm writing my own code. So just click no. Say no, I ain't cheating. And let me know when you get to this view. Or give me the thumbs up or something when y'all are good.
Okay, so I think, are we supposed to connect to it? Because I hit connect.
Yeah, that's cool.
Oh, okay, cool. Okay.
It's say no if it asks you, do you want to like you want to recover some files or something? Say no.
Yeah, I hit no, and then it asked me to connect, and so I'm on this screen. How yours looks?
Okay. Cool. Is everybody else good?
So I was already connected from when we started class.
Okay.
I covered the. Do I need to log out and log back in?
You just press your X's at the top. Like your yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I need a blank screen.
Huh?
Okay. I need to see a blank screen.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm good.
All right. So first things first, let's get into our database architecture. And once I go over this, I'm gonna give you your first use case, and then we're gonna kind of go back and forth. Now, like I told y'all from the beginning, memorization is never like it should never be your goal. Don't look at it like, okay, well, I'm just gonna copy her code and paste her code. That is not the goal. Because if I copy and paste, I still don't know. Like, I still don't know. So I said all that to say I have been intentional on trying to mimic as realistic of an environment for you all as I can, starting from what you actually use to write your code in. I use this every day of my life. Not every day of my life, because like I be sleeping and stuff sometimes. But I use this every day at work. So I'm starting with the environment that you learn in. This is what I use every day. It's what I use 80% of my career. Secondly, the way that I teach is I'm going to teach you and I'm going to give you the a bit opportunity to be able to apply those in the environment. Your code is not going to work sometimes. It is okay. That is when you're going to have to debug, which is like basically figuring out what went wrong. That's when you're going to have to be like, okay, this didn't work. That worked. Let me figure this out. Let me do this. And the reason that I do that is because that's how your day to day life is going to be when you get your role. I have never, they say never. I ain't never in my whole life stepped into a role where I have had clear documentation. I ain't never got no documentation. I have never stepped into a role where they have had their data mapped. Data mapping means like these are your tables. This is how your tables are related. I ain't never did that. So I'm not saying you won't, but it is a high chance that you will not step into a role like that. So I'm training y'all to be able to navigate this space for real. And when you understand how to navigate it for real, you can convey that in your interviews. So I focus on data investigation. I focus on your problem solving. Okay, this didn't work. Last time I tried that didn't work. I focus on that. I focus on like real life application. My code didn't work. Okay, let me look at my data type. Let me go and see these relationships. I literally want your brain, like I don't want to use the word groom because like it's the negative connotation with it, but I'm literally like coaching you on this is what you need to look for. This is what you need to do. Why is your code not working? You ask yourself that and you figure it out and talk through it, but I'm going to guide you through. So, with that being said, we are in our environment. Now, within when you get your role, your first like 30 days is typical HR training, cybersecurity, all this stuff. But as an analytic professional, a big gist of it is centered around getting access to your environment and getting access to your environment. This is an environment and getting familiar with your data. It is not the expectation for you to come in hitting the ground running. If you're on the interview and somebody say they want you to come in hitting the ground running, take the offer anyway, probably because you want to. But they finna run you crazy. So, and the reason that I say that is because the way data is so complex that it's like, hold up, now I gotta like figure out how all this connected. So your first 30 to 90 days gonna be like HR stuff, but it's also going to be like getting familiar with your data, which also goes back to what I was telling y'all a while ago about just because you are not already within the field of data analytics does not mean you do not have experience. What does that mean? It means if you are in healthcare, leverage your healthcare experience within data. If you are in marketing, leverage your marketing experience within data because that domain knowledge holds a lot of value because it helps you understand what the business needs. It's business knowledge, basically. And it helps you understand what the business needs. If you in logistics, if you whatever you in, stay over there but get in data because you have a business knowledge. And if you have business knowledge, you understand business value. And if you understand business value, you understand what are some important data points that I need to capture, or what's the relevancy even of this data that I'm using, whatever. So it helps you in that capacity. So let's get into our database. This is our server. This is equivalent to, you remember how back in the day, well, computers still kind of do have that thing. You remember back in the day how like computers used to have that CPU, and it's like, okay, if your CPU down, nothing works. That's the equivalent to your server. Your server is literally the brain of your whole database. And if your server down, baby, that's all I'm saying about it. It's gonna be hard. And the reason being is because it literally provides or stops access to the data all over your organization. If you in healthcare, you think about how crazy that is, or you in marketing, or if you are in whatever that field is, these people using this data, they're using this data to make money. If they don't have access to their data, how are they gonna make money? Our server went down, and I think it was equivalent. I don't know, but they literally analyzed like every 30 minutes or something. The server was down. The company was losing like thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. So if your server is down, it's like you gonna hear about it. Now, so we got our server, and it's also not uncommon for your organization to have multiple servers. Like you might have a production server, you might have a dev server, you might have QA. Different environments. Those are essentially different environments. And the reason being is because like they are responsible for different things. So you got your server. Here you got your databases, these black boxes. These are databases. These are databases. Mine is a little different from y'all because I like be doing other stuff over here. But primarily they look the same. And when you get a role, this is how they're going to be structured. And like how I was telling y'all about how I've written code in Amazon, Google, DBeaver, it's all set up just like this. Like it'll have your Object Explorer with your databases and stuff right here on this left side. All your databases over here. Now, if you open up your database, you see your diagram, your tables. These are your tables. You remember how I told you that everything you do within SQL goes back to a table. Everything. So you got your server, you got your databases, and then you got your tables. Now, remember how we talked about data investigation? So, data investigation is literally what it sounds like. You need to investigate your data. When you get your let's say you get a technical assessment, and in your technical assessment, there's multiple ways to do it. One way to do it, they might give you an interview, and then you might do amazing in the interview. They like, you know what? I'm about to send you a technical assessment, and you need to give it back to us in like 15 minutes or 30 minutes or whatever. So they email you this pseudo data set, and you gotta go and write the code, and you email it back or whatever the case is, or Google Sheets or just a shared doc. That's one way to do it. Another way to do it is some they might give you like some CSV files full of data and just be like, can you analyze this data? And I need it back by Thursday. That's one way to do it. Another way to do a technical assessment is sometimes you might literally have to write your code live. And that is a tech recruiter, Sade. For real though, you'll be all right. There's the tech recruiter. I'm not a tech recruiter because most tech recruiters aren't technical, but that'll be like an engineer on one end, and then like you on the other end, just like this. And they'll give you like a pseudo data set, and then they'll give you a use case, and then you write your code to answer the use case. So with that, I like to focus on y'all to be able to talk through what you're doing because that is a gap. Can't nobody read your mind. So if I give you code or if I give you a pseudo table and you just don't say nothing and you like just spit the code out, they don't know what you know. So the most appropriate way to do it is to literally talk through things as you're doing it. What does that look like? Okay, first of all, now I'm doing my data investigation. Now I'm doing this. Now I'm looking at my data and I'm trying to figure out what the data types are. Like literally talk through what you're doing step by step because that allows visibility to your thought process. So data investigation is literally, I'm going to go and look at this data because I need to see how this data is related and how these tables are defined. And that helps me write my code. So let's do our data investigation. So here we have our courses, our enrollments, and our students. So it's two ways that we can do our data investigation. One way is we can expand our columns just like this, and we can go and look at our data. Go and look at what's in your tables. Go and look and see what's in your tables. That's one way to do it. Another way to do it is right click and select your top 1,000 rows. And that actually opens up your full table or your top 1,000 rows of that table.
Can you do that again?
You see my mouse? Right click it and then select your top 1,000 rows right here. Right click your table name and then select your top 1,000 rows.
Perfect.
Good. Any other questions? Okay. So we got our table expanded. Okay, so I can see what's in my table. Okay. See the data. That's one way we can do it. Now, another way is okay, so we talked about the data investigation. I'm gonna look at my data, I'm gonna see my columns, I'm gonna see how everything is defined, how these tables are defined, and how these tables are related. So when we looked at our create table syntax, let me go back to it. When we talk create table syntax, and I said, okay, this is how these tables are defined. You got your table, you have your columns, and you have your definitions here. This is how your tables are defined. Now, let's go and look at our actual tables in our database. You see how we have our columns? Got our columns right here. Then we have our columns are defined in parentheses. This is how our table is defined. These are our data types. Right here. Now, y'all see this course ID and y'all see this PK. Y'all see this integer. Y'all see this not null. All of this is important. What is this? PK. PK stands for primary key. A primary key. A primary key is the unique identifier of that table. That means that each record is a row, basically. Each record in this table, in this column, is unique. There are no two records like this. This helps you to be able to understand how this table is structured. Because if I say, okay, this is the PK, not only is this PK, but it's an integer. So y'all see this number right here. It's the integer. Then I say it is not null. That means it is a required field. Null, if something is null, that means it doesn't matter if it's blank. But not null is basically saying this is a number and it's a primary key, it's a unique identifier, and I gotta have it. I gotta have it. That's how that table is defined. PK. Now, any questions about that? Okay. Now we're gonna scroll right on. We ain't even gonna scroll. We're gonna go right on down here to this enrollment table. Y'all see this enrollment table. Y'all see this how the table is defined. We have our enrollment ID. In this enrollment table, our PK, or our primary key, is our enrollment ID. That's the unique identifier. But we gonna scroll right on down here. We see we got our course ID right here. That we got our course ID right here. We got it defined as FK. The FK is a foreign key. If something is foreign, it is not from there. It ain't from here. So that's telling me that this course ID is from another table, but this is the relationship. These are your data relationships. If I say foreign key, it's the unique identifier of another table. Now, they look. This is a high question. People ask about primary keys. People ask about foreign keys. Why? Because it helps them identify if you truly understand data. What is a primary key? So what's a primary key? It's a unique identifier for a table. Each record has their own number or value. What's a foreign key? A foreign key is a unique identifier of another table. Primary keys and foreign keys, that is how you establish data relationships. What is a data relationship? Baby, what is a real life relationship? How are people related in real life? If y'all related, y'all got something in common somewhere. Somebody somewhere is in common. Data is the same thing. If I got if I have a data relationship, something somewhere is in common. And that means that these tables are related. The same way you related to your cousin. These tables are related. And this data investigation, data relationships, and data types, all of those things are going to leverage you not only through SQL, but in Power BI, Excel, Python. They all like literally like they have to know them data relationships. So these are your this is how your tables are defined. You got your primary key, you got your foreign key.
I
Data.
have a question.
Mhm.
So when we're doing what you call the data investigation, that's essentially just looking for how these tables are related, like where we're going to be able to, I guess, like join them or pull information from.
Yes, you said the word, and you set me. You three sessions ahead. Cause hold on, baby, pump your brakes. You three sessions ahead, but that's exactly why.
Okay.
Because when you understand those data relationships, it helps you draw the dependencies. You get into data dependencies. Okay, this table, these columns are dependent on that column to exist. That's data dependencies. Is data architecture. How are these columns related? How is this data related? Then you get into even when you get into intermediate advanced SQL, which is our session 3. Once we start joining, that's what we're gonna join on. Your common fields. So it's very important for you to like make that a habit because join, they're like considered intermediate advanced, but they be like whooping people real bad. And the reason being is because you too, me too. They used to have me down bad. I'm like, hold up now.
I'll just left join everything. I'll just be like,
Yeah. Like, and the reason being is because those data relationships, like people have a hard time wrapping, okay, how is this related? How can I? So I do that with y'all very early on. Okay, go and look at your data. How are these related? What are the relationships? What are the dependencies? Because once you understand it literally leverages all through it goes all through analytics all the way around. And when you understand that how to do it at its core, you're gonna be able to go on Power BI and merge your, I think it's called merge in Power BI, but you can be able to merge your data sets. You're gonna be able to do all of that and it's going to come organically to you. Like your brain is gonna automatically work like that. And you ain't gonna be like sweating and stuff trying to figure it out. So like I try to like hone in on it. So those are the primary keys. And like I said, it is not uncommon for that to be an interview question. What's the primary key? What's the foreign key? Those data relationships, how is your data related? How is your tables defined? Because when you get into that, it helps you understand how to adequately retrieve that data. Now, we courses table. So we right click our courses table and selected our top 1,000 rows. Our courses table didn't even have 1,000 rows because it's only the course data in here. So it has 6 rows. Now, you see the top 1,000. This is called a limit. That literally means I'm limiting the amount of data that I retrieve. So once we get into the other tables that have more data in there, 1,000 rows are going to come back. So let's erase this. And you also see how we have our brackets around these columns. When you select your top 1,000 rows, SQL automatically puts these brackets around it because it is not uncommon for a column to actually be a reserved word as well. Meaning that you might have a column called like status. And status technically is a reserved word over here. So it throws these brackets around it because it's like, this is not a reserved word for real. Like, hold up, I know them. This is not a reserved word. Like, this is a column. So it throws these brackets around it so that you're able, or so that the system knows that, hold up, I know them, let them in. It's a column. Another thing you notice here is that your commas are separating your columns. All of these commas are in the front of your column. Continue to keep your columns, your commas in the front of your columns. That's best practice. Don't be having your columns in the front, back. Don't do that. Keep your columns lined up neatly, clean. Keep your code real clean. Commas go in the front. Why do commas go in the front? Let's say I don't want department anymore. I'm going to comment out that line of code. How do I comment out that line of code? 2 dashes. Comment out that line of code, re-execute, and it only pulls what I have in my select statement. But if I had those columns in the back, it'll throw it off to make like be an error or something. It won't work. So keep your commas in the front, just like how it is, because that's best practice. If you need to comment out your code, you can do the 2 dashes like I did, or you can do your backslash star at the top and then star backslash at the bottom, and it'll comment out your full block code like it just doesn't exist anymore. So best practice, the commas in the front, keep your code consistent. If you start now writing uppercase, just keep everything really clean and stuff. Another good thing, another best practice tip is documentation. Document what you're doing. How do you document what you're doing? At the top of your code, you can comment it out with your 2 slashes or either how I told you, and just simply like literally like write what you're doing. This retrieves whatever. If I can spell. Document what you're doing on there. Why? Because in 2 hours when I come back from lunch, I might not remember what I'm doing. First of all. Also, I might have to send my code to my teammate and I got 600 lines of code. And it sounds crazy, but y'all gonna eventually get there. I got 600 lines of code. I'm building out a stored procedure, and it has all this logic in my code. So on line 397, I'm pulling this column from this table. I need to document what I'm doing. Therefore, when you come back from eating your sandwich or whatever you ate on lunch, you gonna remember what you're doing, or your teammate is not gonna look at your code and be like, I don't know what she was doing. Cause I can't stand when I get code from people and I'm like, baby, I don't even know what you're doing. What were you doing? What were you eating? What were you drinking? Cause why you write that like that? So yeah, document your code. Commas in the front. Keep your code consistent. Keep it clean. Document your code. Another thing is do not feel the pressure to have to reinvent the wheel. What does that mean? When I give you your use case and you do your data investigation and you come over here and you find your tables that you need to write your code, don't go over here and try to write it from scratch. Just build upon what you already have. You're not gonna get no cookie. Like you're not. You're not. Just build upon what you already have, but be able to explain like what you're doing or know what you're doing. Yep. Any
And
questions?
so the one with the backslash and the star, that's another way just to comment.
Yep. It's like this. I'm gonna put it in the chat. Oh, my mouse. Oh, there it is. Okay. It's like this at the top, and then your code in the middle, and then star backslash at the end. Like it's literally like a sandwich like that. Yep.
Okay. And so it has to be written like that. But like you could use that for comments as well, or we only should use that if we're trying to comment out the code.
You can do it for comments.
Okay.
Like if you wanted to document it like this, I mean it's okay, here you go. It is in this case, like I only got one line I only have one line on line three. So in this case, technically it would be easier to do your two dashes, but it'll work like this. Like it'll comment it out just like that too.
So like it's more so if we have like big bodies.
Yes.
That used to be.
Yep. Like for example, tonight when y'all do y'all's use case, I'm going to get you to first we're gonna do select, and then you gotta filter out data. I'm about to show you how to filter data now. So you'll select, and then the next use case you're gonna insert. And then after you insert, you're gonna go retrieve yourself from that table. Then after you do that, you're gonna comment that out and you're gonna come back down, you're gonna update. Then after you update, you're gonna go and retrieve yourself from the table. And then after you update, you're gonna delete. So you're gonna go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Just like how it would be in a real environment. Because when you're in a real environment and when you're applying changes, like I apply changes and I go back and I test my change. Or when you are writing script for something, you'll go and you'll write your code and then you'll go and test your code. So I teach y'all in that way. So when you're able to do it, and then you're used to like, okay, this works. Now let me go and make sure it works. Okay, that worked. Now let me go to the next one. Okay, that worked. Now let me go to this one. So you're gonna go back and forth, back and forth. In that, you will have to comment out like your full block of code, and it makes it easier. But that's exactly why. When it's a block, it's just easier to do it like that. Yep. Now, I'll go. Okay, so this is select. Now, what this select does not show you is a filter. What is a filter? Like, what is a filter? What it sounds like. It's exactly what it sounds like. It filters out the data that you do not need. When I make my coffee, because I'm drinking coffee now. I be drinking coffee. I'm real grown. But when I make my coffee, I have like my coffee, and think of the coffee as the data, all your data in the database. You got your coffee. Then you got your filter. You put your filter on there. Or if y'all, I don't know, my coffee pot is like a break room coffee pot. I still use coffee filter. So you got your filter right there. Your filter only lets what get in the coffee pot what you need. Data is literally the same way. So I have all of my data in my database. That's the coffee. I put my filter there. That's the filter. I only get what I need in my coffee pot. That's my output. What is a filter? Where? Where? Select your columns from this table. Where this column equals whatever you're looking for, whatever value you're looking for. Where this column equals whatever that value is. Notice how this value it has strings around it or has quotes around it, the single quotes. Why? Like why is like what y'all doing? It has that because this data type in this column is a varchar, meaning it is a string of data. So if I put my single quotes around it, I'm telling the system that this is a varchar, this is a string. So if I say where this column equals this, I'm only going to get back this condition. This is called a condition. I'm typing in the chat. Filters are conditions, period. Filters are conditions. When I say what are the conditions, I'm talking about a filter. So I'm selecting these columns from this table where this column equals this. That's a filter. That's a condition. Everything goes back to tables and columns. You're not doing nothing in SQL if you're not messing with a table or a column. So if I was to ask you to only retrieve a certain type of data, first of all, you got to go and do your data investigation and say, okay, well, it comes from this table. Second of all, you would have to go and explicitly see which column you need to apply your filter to. So select these columns from this table where this column equals this, where this condition is met, period. So if I was to ask you, here go y'all first use case. If I was to ask you, okay, provide me an output of all the students who have a B. I'm gonna write in the chat. If I say I need an output of all the students, I need the okay. I need the student ID, the course ID, the enrollment date, and the grade of all students who have a B. Your first thing that you need to do is do your data investigation and figure out which table answers that question. First of all, which table answers that question? Select your top 1,000 rows of that table and build your query to answer that question. Oh, and can y'all see my screen? Yeah. And you can use this because the goal is never memorization. It's always application.
Are we just writing new code from when I select my top 1,000? Are we just deleting that and then creating our own? We're just going down.
Going down, get rid of your top 1,000 because that's called a limit, and then build your code on top of it.
Okay.
Yep. Top 1,000 is a limit. If I change that 1,000 to 10, 500, whatever, it's gonna do whatever I say it is. It's just limiting your code. So get rid of that and then build your query on top of that.
And then when we do the where, do we have to put that in the brackets as well, or that doesn't have to be in the brackets?
Nope. Where is a reserved word, but put your you don't have to, but if you want to keep everything consistent, put your column names in brackets.
Right. So when I put where grade equals B
Mm-hmm.
or what have you, that the grade part goes into the bracket.
Yep, you can, or you can. It'll work either way, but you can put it in there. Yep. Not you telling the answer. You can't see my
Nobody heard
paper.
it. Nobody heard it.
But you are correct though. Let me know if y'all have any questions. I want to talk through it. So, what table did y'all use?
Enrollments.
Yep. Were you able to? Were you able to get what you needed?
Yeah, it tricked me up because I forgot to delete when I was doing my select statement. I forgot to delete top.
Oh yeah. Oh, you got an error, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yep.
I was like, why am I getting that? I know I'm right. And then I looked at it and it still said top on the top, so I had to go ahead and delete that.
Come through, debug. You debugging already? Yep. Amanda, Janisha, y'all good. I know you got it, Sade, because he told the answer 62 minutes ago. Janisha, Sade, y'all good.
I don't think I am. I don't know what I did over here.
Oh, let me see. Let's share it. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Amanda, you good? If y'all want to share, we can talk through it together.
Let's see.
Because the goal is not right. The goal is understanding. And
Let's share it. All right, we can all help each other.
yep. Because it's probably something silly anyway.
Screen. I gotta move it. I'm trying to screen.
Okay. Click on. I don't know how to look on y'all end, but on my end, it's like at the bottom of like this screen.
Yeah. Let's see. So I say that. I think it's. Let's see.
Or it's right. You can copy and paste your code in the chat,
Okay.
and I can look at it from my end. Let me see. And that's the next use case. Sade and Harry provide me with the first name, last name, and enrollment year of all students who are computer science majors. Okay, let me see. Okay, I knew it was something like that. Take your where and put it after your from. Now, oh, girl, get rid of all them froms. Actually, you only need one. Okay, let me see. Like, oh, I'm doing the wrong thing. Student. Okay, like here. So when you, okay, you see my screen. Okay, so I selected top 1,000. And I got rid. Just start from scratch. Select top 1,000, and then get rid of your top 1,000. How it's structured up here? Just keep it just like this, because here we are selecting this column, this column, this column, this column, this column from this table, and then I turn around and put my filter here. Where what I say? Grade is B. Yeah, you only put don't like that. You only put your where after that. Now think about when you go to a grocery store and I'm like, I'm getting this and this and this from here. You're getting everything from the same place. So you only need your from one time. And when you say from, I'm saying from a table. I'm getting these columns from this table.
Okay.
Yep.
I see now with the phone.
Oh, you saw it? You fixed it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Think about it like literally, like I'm getting these columns from this table.
Mhm.
I'm gonna retrieve the data from that table. And then the next one was okay. Provide me with the first name, last name, and enrollment year. Oh, major too, y'all. Bring the major over to my bad. Of all students who are computer science majors. First name, last name. Let me write my code. I'll be writing my code too. Also, when you do your data investigation, make sure that when you are retrieving data, if I say like where this column equals this, my values have to be exactly like how it is within my database. That's another reason for the importance of the data investigation too. Like if they have a space in their column, you got to have a space in yours too. Or if it's written a certain way, your data has to be written a certain way too. All right. Now, can you see my screen? Any questions about that?
Right.
Okay. Now, oh, did y'all have any questions about that one?
Are these case sensitive?
No.
No.
You getting an error?
Yeah, I'm getting an error.
What? Share your screen. Let me see.
Sure. Oh wait.
Are you asking about for the second one?
Yeah.
Oh, it didn't pull anything for me. Like
Oh, let me see your
computer science.
code. Let me see your code.
Okay.
Whoever. Let me see. What's today?
I was like, unless I spelled computer or science wrong, which very, very probable.
Let me see your code. Mm. Let me see your. Can you share your actual screen, Sade?
Sorry.
Yeah.
Because it looks right to me.
Hold on. Hold on. Let me pull this over to my main screen.
Okay. Yeah, this looks right to me.
So this is mine.
Okay, so yours first. Oh,
And I have the brackets, but
oh, so you did put the brackets.
yeah.
And what is it showing on yours? What's the error you get?
Oh wait. I had a space. Never mind.
Oh God. Okay, so yours was a space. Is
Oh, but let me see. Did I not put my? Oh, you know what? I may not put the little semicolon thing behind there.
it
No,
wouldn't?
still not doing it. Okay.
Yeah, it wouldn't work. It
That
wouldn't
shit.
care. It don't care.
Okay. Okay. Share screen. Share
Okay,
screen. Oh, here it is.
pull you
Allow to
here.
share. Okay. Do you see? Oh, wait. I guess I just need to share this screen.
Yeah,
I don't know how to do all this now. Oh,
Sorry.
great answer.
Sorry, I'm being nosy. But from the outset, it looks like you have brackets around major, where it says where major. Does that matter? I'm not.
It shouldn't matter though.
I was like, because I did that with the other one, and
Cause I mean hers looks right to me. That's why I'm trying to look at her data. Yeah, that don't matter. Oh, okay. I'm seeing somebody's screen now. I don't know whose screen this is.
this is mine.
Okay, okay.
Wait, I'm trying to find. Oh, here it is. Okay.
Yeah, it looks right. At least like looking at it.
But see, when I hit execute, it don't do that.
You're sharing like our course screen and not your code.
Hmm. I don't know what that. Oh, oh, it's too different. Wait a minute. And how do I? You know what? I don't know what I'm
Oh, you
supposed to
got an
share
Apple,
these.
don't you?
Yeah.
You and Amanda with
Oh,
the MacBooks. Okay.
and they are difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Like I just don't know how to get you
Cause
guys.
let me look
Oh,
at
you know
it.
what? I may have to share entire screen.
Oh
But I
yeah,
did
try
it
it like
that
that.
day.
So let me see. I'm looking at it on
I
mine.
was just sharing the window. Maybe that's okay.
Yours is working on mine. Sade. Like this is literally
Oh,
your code. Okay, where major. I copied and pasted yours and put it in mine and executed, and it was like here. Yeah. So execute it again. Let me see some. Okay, let me see it. Okay, so
I don't know.
press X. You press
Okay.
execute at the top.
Uh-huh. So let me go.
Comment outline 7 and let me see some.
Okay.
Okay, so yours is a little different up there, and I'm gonna actually get you to update the computer analyst to computer science. That's gonna be your use case. Okay, so that's the
That's what
problem.
is that what it is?
Yes,
I
yes,
was like,
yes,
make sure
yes.
you need.
Somebody must have like went in there trying to be fancy, and now you done threw and got me looking crazy out here. Yes,
I was like,
yes, yes. Because I'm like, this looks right to me. So on your update use case, update computer analyst to computer science. But I give you the. We'll talk about it when you get there. Cause baby, nobody had time for that. But yeah, your code is right. You're right. Nothing is wrong. It's not you. It's not you. But you're gonna have a real life use case. Just know that. Any questions, y'all?
okay.
Okay. So your next, okay, so on your, okay, so we got our select statement here. Let's comment out this full block of code for our select statement because now we are going to get in phase two of our use case, and we're going to insert ourselves as a student in the student table. So just comment it out here, but keep it because you're going to go after you insert and test your change. You're going to retrieve yourself from the table. Now insert yourself as a student in the student table, and the only requirement is to make your student ID 40,000, and I'm gonna write it in the chat. Okay, so insert yourself as a student in the student table. Your student ID needs to be 40,000. This is your insert syntax. So when we insert, we're inserting into our table name. We open up our parentheses and we list out all the columns in that table. And then we come down here and insert the values into those columns. Now remember, however that table is defined, that's how your values have to be inserted. So if it's an integer, if it's a varchar, if it's a date, your data has to match whatever that table is defined. So insert into table name. We're inserting yourself as a student in the student table. Insert into table name, list out the columns in that table, and then come down here and insert the values in that column. In those columns, the columns got to line up. The only requirement is that you make your student ID 40,000. This is your insert syntax, and it adds new data to the database. You can make your
Why she be? Sorry.
what you also say you can make your major anything. That's what you was gonna ask.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
For the table, it's not gonna be data collection. It's gonna be the data analytics simplified, right?
Yep. Yep. This is essentially just a point of reference. So anytime, even as you navigate the space, it is not uncommon, even on your technical assessments, if you want to have a point of reference or your notes or anything like that, you are more than welcome to do so. Because it's not about like memorization. It's not about anything. It's about, okay, well, this is how it's lined up. This is how I need to do it over here. So, yep, your tables and columns need to match exactly what your tables and columns are in your database. So insert into table name. And I ain't gonna lie, I always like just copy my table and like paste it. Cause like insert into table name, columns, values. Table, columns, values. And like I said, the only requirement is to make your student ID 40,000.
40.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just gonna be honest. I'm kind of lost.
What you stuck on?
Me too. I'm still on the first one. Me too. Me too.
What what okay, I can't type it
You
out.
in the same boat because I'm like,
What Janisha, did you update your code based on their feedback?
I tried.
What you got now? Post it in the chat and we'll talk.
I think it deleted. I had to start it
Or
over.
Amanda, you can post yours too. Or share your screen and we can talk through it.
Mine is like I know where I'm getting the information from,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like I guess when I got lost when it was right click in the top whatever 1,000, I was just gonna go back and watch it. That's not coming up for me when I right click. Like
Can you
it's not.
share your screen so I can see what you're doing?
See, I think I'm just confused on this Mac. I think I'm just gonna start working from my other my other computer. Mm.
Or either that or post your code in here and I can look at it and we can talk through it like that.
Okay.
Harry, Sade, y'all okay?
I think I have